Hey up everyone. As you can see, I've been sticking a few random video logs up here, but I thought I'd do a talkie as well. And I'm unsure what to do as a talkie because I don't have a sort of passion to sort of talk about each week or talk about on a regular basis. So, and there's nothing that's making me ranty or opinionated. I've got opinions on stuff, but there's nothing that's making me especially opinionated or especially annoyed enough that I wanted to come here and share it. So I just thought I'd tell stories from my past, stories of things that have made me over time. Waypoints in my life that I think have been significant enough to shape my personality. What I thought I'd talk about is I want to say my journey of girlfriends, but that's sounds quite dismissive. But I think they've all been quite significant in my development. They haven't just been a functional biological sort of I don't think the girlfriends have been a biological sort of function. They haven't just been because I'm a boy and I need a girl. Although that's definitely a part of it. So I thought I'd talk about that. Because when I left school, I don't think I knew who I was. You know, at 16, 17, school hadn't been particularly ace for me. Hadn't been crap. You know, the St John's and the Brunts were good schools. You know, I was more of a passive observer. Wasn't bullied, wasn't the bully. But when I left, I was a bit wet behind the ears and innocent. And then I had an incident when I was 17 when a boy tried to get me to touch him up, and I worried that I might be gay and not know it. And I don't have a problem with homosexuality, but at that time, as I hadn't had a girlfriend, it was like, well, am I gay and giving off gay vibes? And I haven't recognised it yet. And I was gutted because I always thought I was attracted to women. And then you're thinking, well, am I gay and I don't know it? Which is stupid because you know your own sexuality. It's whether people sort of recognise it sort of in yourself. So I had that. So my first proper girlfriend wasn't until I was 20 and a half. And I know it because we sort of dated for about a 6-month period. She went away to university, came back about December, and I finished it 2 days after my birthday in June. So 20 and a half, it's a 6-month period. I finished after my 21st birthday. And it wasn't the best of relationships. In fact, we shouldn't have gone out with each other because we were friends. And you know, it was the silliest thing we could have done at that age. Oh well, it's the silliest thing we could have done. You shouldn't date your friends at all. Your ultimate partner should become your friend, should become your confidant, but we shouldn't have dated. And for 6 months, I was basically her dirty little secret. You know, she wouldn't tell her family, she wouldn't tell her friends. Everybody else got priority over me, and I tolerated it, and I put up with it because I had no idea. I had no idea what a relationship should be like. So I sort of tolerated it for 6 months, and the reason I tolerated it is because I was getting sex, and I hadn't had sex, and it was wonderful. And frankly, it wasn't even sex; it was just giving her oral sex. But that was still ace, because I'd read about it in all the dirty magazines, you know, going down on a woman. So for me, that was fine. You know, I think at that age, I'd have sort of been on the cusp of happy for that to be the scheme of things, for that to be how it works. I mean, now I know that isn't how it works, and there's a lot more to a relationship and love and things like that. But I think my tolerance was higher because I can remember the first time she asked me the things I'd like to try, or to that effect. And I felt like an absolute filth bag. I think I felt like I was going to suggest like butt plugs and BDSM or something like that. And I said, I've always wanted to lick a girl out. And she was fine with it. She was like, okay then, if that's what you want to do. And it was like, oh my God, Nirvana, oh my God. And it was fantastic. And I don't think I sort of lost that euphoric feeling. So I was tolerant for 6 months, and then in the end, long story short, is she let me down on my 21st birthday when I had several offers of going out and celebrating, on the off chance that she wanted to see a friend she hadn't seen all weekend, and that was sort of the breaking point. And I properly did the Mardy thing. I put everything she'd ever given me into a box and took it all back, and Did talk to her for a long time, couple of years, 2, 3 years, 4 years, and even then, it's never got back to how it was. You know, we've moved on and we've become grown ups, and our perceptions in life have changed. But because of her, for my second girlfriend, who I did fall in love with, I decided that I wasn't going to tolerate sort of being messed around. You know, I had 6 months, 8 months maybe of not going out with anybody, and when I started going out with this new girl, it was like I realised what went off there. I'm not going to let that happen, and as a consequence, I was a mardy bastard, and I mean really just mardy, moody, just how she stayed sort of with me for a year and a half, I've no idea. I wasn't bad. I've never sort of put her down. Absolutely adored her. But I think she thought if that's how the relationship was going to be, then she didn't want to be in it. Example being, we once stayed in babysitting her sister on a Friday night, and we went from TV show to TV show to TV show. And in my mind, that was an awful thing to do. It was a lazy. I didn't want to become one of these people that just sits and goes through the TV channels. But everything we watched was good TV or funny. And I was laughing. I was not laughing on principle. So I was watching some comedy show, and it was like, and I was holding it in. And that's the sort of thing I did. And I wanted my own way. And I was quite sort of adamant that my point was valid, to a point where I think I blocked out hers a lot. And I since find out that she spent a lot of time crying at home because it frustrated or it wasn't good for her. So I don't think I was a bad boyfriend at all. You know, there was still a lot of love there. We broke up and got back together. And then I started seeing, or there was somebody else I nearly started seeing, but never kissed, never did anything. And I actually went back to sort of the first real love, and said, "This other girl," and she was quite happy. She said, "Well, I'm glad we can still be friends," and we sort of moved on, and that was sort of quite positive. And then it turned out this third girl was a free spirit. I'm not going to say anything like she was slutty or anything like that. She was a free spirit. She was 17, 18, I was 22 at the time, and basically she had quite a few partners, and she, to me that isn't what love was at the time. And she definitely wasn't a dirty bag of slap. She was just a very free spirit. And for me, I always thought up until that point, you have sex because you're in love, or because you're falling in love, or because you're attracted to that person. So when somebody goes and has sort of sex with somebody else, it sort of invalidates it for me. So after her, I just couldn't be bothered. I just couldn't be bothered at all. You know, I'd done the crap relationship, the relationship that I sabotaged, and I tried again and failed, and it was just like, can't be bothered. So for about 5 or 6 months, just weren't bothered at all. Didn't want to play a game. Really didn't want to play a game where you have to perform or fulfill a criteria or be a certain way to be in a relationship. And I was working in a nightclub at the time. So after about 5 or 6 months, I started sleeping around, which sounds like I was getting it every week, but with these looks, you know, it was still it was still scarce. It was still far and few between. But I think in a 6-7 month period, I slept with about 8-9 sort of different girls, and one of them I slept with once, and we worked together, and my head wasn't in a good place there anyway. And I think she really, really liked me, and I've subsequently found out that I broke my heart. Like 2 years later, somebody came up to me and went, "Oh, you're Paul Naylor, aren't you?" And you're like, "Yeah." And she went, "You're a bastard. You did to this girl, and you're fucking," and rightfully so. And I hate myself for that. So after that period of me being a slut, and not in a good way, I gave up. It all seemed fickle and empty, and all my concepts of being in a relationship or what a relationship should be, was shattered. I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't a devastated person. I was just apathetic to it all. And it was during that period that I met my current wife, as in I'd stopped looking, I'd stopped imposing my perceptions on other people. I'd stopped looking for something, or I, the criteria, the schemata that you've got in your head. I wasn't going by, so I think the attraction there was genuine and honest, and I wasn't trying to be anyone other than myself. And we kept each other's company. We'd sort of I'd go down there, and we'd get drunk together. We'd worked in the nightclub together, and it came up to a Christmas time, and I thought, I'm going to make a twat of myself. I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself. I'm falling in love with her, or I'm falling for her. I'm not falling in love. I'm falling for her, and there's no way she could be attracted to me. No way at all. Even though we were sleeping in bed together, I still thought it was just friends, because it sounds silly when I say it, but I didn't want to assume anything. I didn't want to assume that just because a woman slept in the same bed as you, nothing happened. No sort of groping or trying to get from first to second base. No kissing. In fact, it was, when we were tired, we would go to bed. And in my mind, I was trying to sort of rationalise that she could still be that comfortable with me as a friend that she could do that. Obviously, there was no other friends in my whole life that I was going to bed with. No male friends, no female friends. So that logic doesn't make sense. But I was that attracted to her that I didn't want to sort of do it wrong. So we were sleeping in bed together for about a month-ish or something like that. And then I just decided that I didn't want to make a fool of myself. So I stopped talking, stopped contacting her, stopped going round, dodged the calls, and just tried to avoid her as much as possible. I think I'd stopped working at the nightclub then. But I had 2 or 3 CDs of hers, and I needed to drop them off at her house. Now, she had a small porchway with a tiled floor and a letterbox high up, rather than sort of medium or low down. And I thought, if I drop the CDs in, they're going to smash on the concrete floor, and I'm going to look like I'm a bit of a bitter arsehole. So I thought I'm going to have to make one final contact to give her the CDs back, be polite, and get the hell out of there, because there's no way someone that attractive could be attracted to me. So I posted a note saying, I've got your CDs, and when you're free, I'll pop them down. And she phoned me that night, or that evening. So I went down, gave her CDs. She poured me a pint of vodka and lime, and I got smashed. And the next morning, I became aware of what I was doing, because I was drunk, when I was on the bus to work. So how I got up, walked half a mile into town, caught the bus, paid for it, and I've no idea at all. But I went back the next night, and I went back to the house the next night, and we're always on the edge of kissing. But we just, both of us didn't want to sort of ruin it. And in the end, it was me that said, we can't overanalyze it. You get your thick people that will kiss and fall into a relationship and fall out of a relationship and get cracked on, and we're overanalyzing it, and that's going to be a hurdle. Let's kiss. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, it does, and we'll take it from there. And that was on February the 9th, we kissed. And then on February the 7th, the next year, our son was born, we was married, and we had a mortgage. Everything you tell other people not to do. But it always felt right. It never felt wrong. And again, the reason I know it's February the 9th is because people at my work was telling me I should get her chocolates and flowers for Valentine's Day. And I was saying, 4 days in, if you kiss somebody and 4 days later they're buying you Valentine cards, a Valentine card is a proclamation of love. It's a gesture. And even though you're attracted to it, you don't do it after 4 days. You look like a bit of a desperate nutter. So I bought 2 bags of flour and an Easter egg being the chocolate and the flour being the flowers. And we've actually got those framed on our bedroom wall. She sort of they're only little ones. She emptied them out, framed them, and they've still stayed with us. And that was it. That was love, and that always felt right. What happened there was a couple of months into the relationship. In fact, no, it was about a week and fortnight. About 3 weeks into the relationship, her housemate moved out, and she needed somebody to share the rent with. So I said, shall I move in? And we both did God, no, you don't move in after 3 weeks. That's just stupid. So I said, I'll take the spare room, and if it doesn't work, I'll move out, and it gives you a month to get another lodger, or it gives you a month to sort out what you want to do. So I moved in and never took the spare room, and it always seemed right. So 2 months, 3 months after that, it really is 3 months after that, you know, these people who get pregnant very quickly, or couples that get pregnant, not women. She told me she was pregnant, and it felt fine. Felt completely, didn't feel wrong at all. We didn't have to have a conversation. It just felt right. But that really unsteady right where should it be feeling so right 3 months in when society dictates you know you have a large dating period, but it always felt right. And the way she told me was she met me from work in Mansfield one day and I went to a cafe. I had a jacket potato, she didn't have anything, and all the way through eating it I knew there was something in the air, and I thought she was going to finish me. Oh, I need to say a backstory. About a month before we'd had a pregnancy scare already, she'd bought a 2-pack and tried it and she wasn't pregnant. So all the way during that month, as a joke, everything she said, I'd say she was pregnant. So she'd go, I'm thirsty. I'm like, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, my boobs ache. Oh, you're pregnant. Oh, I can't sleep. Oh, you're pregnant. But as a joke, to the end where she was just go, cough, I'm not pregnant. Don't even say I'm pregnant. And we'd sort of, it was a bit of a joke. So we're sat in this cafe and she's not talking. I'm just thinking, oh, she's going to end it. Okay, she's going to end it. And I was getting myself in the zone to not be an arsehole and not flip out and go, oh, we're adults, it's over. And she got out a letter, slipped it to me across the table, and my first thoughts were, she's written me a Dear John letter, and she's given it me in a cafe, so I don't flip out. I don't believe it. Got the letter, opened it up, and we've still got it. I could still go and get it now, but I'm not going to. Got the letter out, and it says, Paul, I will always love you. Opened it up, and it went, P.S. You were right. And then the pregnancy results were stuck with the paper, and that's how I found out we were pregnant. So yeah, that's the journey of how I became the person I am now. I think my first girlfriend sabotaged my second, and it was the going through the fickle stage that I think made me more sort of settled and rationale, and I'm glad of it. And even though my first girlfriend broke my heart, I've almost got to be grateful, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have started to think about my opinion. I think if you establish yourself in a relationship and you set up a precedent, it's very hard to break that. But because I ended that relationship, it was easier to think about what my needs were and be a little egotistical, because you both have to be egotistical in a relationship. So yes, that's a lot of waffling, and I've said a lot of stuff, and I'm going to try not to cut this out, because I want this to be almost documentative, almost biographical, journal-like a sort of diary. I want it to be a picture of who I am. So there'll be my rants and my fripperies, my Minecrafts, and then there'll be things like this, sort of stories or journeys that I've been through. And I haven't been through many. I'm not a travelled, wise person. I think I'm just a settled person. Okay, I'll speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.